I would welcome written testimony by any, as we've received, and I would encourage written testimony. And at the top of this meeting, when you announced that we would be extending time and shortening the individual time, there was no dissension. And so this board stands united in continuing in the interest of fairness with the time allotted as presented by you at the top of the meeting, unless a board member wants to make a motion that counters that. But I would welcome and suggest that everyone not only keep attending future board meetings and keep providing testimony, but provide written testimony as well to further explain anything that may be lost. I hear you and I empathize, but I want to also welcome any written testimony that will be welcomed with open arms by this board member and I'm sure my colleagues.
Melanie?
I think she does make a good point. I do think that, I'm not honestly exactly sure how to handle this at this moment in time. I do think going forward, we need to figure out a way that if somebody does need accommodations in order to get a longer time period, we need to figure out a way to make that happen. So I am personally open to extending if somebody needs accommodations now. I'm happy to accommodate that. But yeah, going forward, we definitely have to figure that out.
So then Matt.
I'd like to correct the statement by the vice chair. Not the entire board is united in continuing with the initial decision, even though there was no dissension. I think that right now something's being brought up. We have to accommodate it, and we should not continue talking and wasting more time. This is an equity concern, and I think that it behooves us to make sure that we accommodate that today for this one time, but moving forward, some of the ideas that Matt brought forward might be available.
Okay.
So I move that we, for anybody who needs accessibility, specifically in this case we heard speech impediment, we refuse to continue to be ableist and give some space, create the space by increasing 3 minutes for those folks, as is our standard practice.
I would second that if we need a second.
Okay. Is there further discussion among the board?
I'm not clear on the motion because could you explain just the motion? Could you restate the motion?
I move that we increase to 3 minutes for accessibility and equity issues to the students that need the 3 minutes time allotted for the public comment. Is that clear, Vice Chair? Yes?
Please.
But that the remaining testimony would be limited to 2, that we're increasing for accessibility.
Right. That's where I'm looking for clarification. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay.
And we have a second.
Yes, we do. All in favor, I guess we're going to go take the roll. All roll down.
Okay, Bill Carrasco.
Aye.
Mike Geister.
Aye.
Pat Keating.
Aye.
Susie Johnston.
I'm going to say aye, but with a comment because I'm on the phone. Nobody sees my hand raised up, so I agree with what Phil said, and I also please encourage people to send in written comments. It's very helpful. Thank you.
Lisa Fragala.
Aye.
Melanie Munzer.
Aye.
Rosie Parks.
Aye.
Okay, we're going to move forward. Our next speaker is David Festus, Brian Everett, and Anna Smith. If someone has a need for an accommodation, please state that at the start so that our timekeeper can take that into account.
All right. Good evening. My name is David Ferris, and I am the Food Service Director here at Lane Community College. And I am here to speak in favor of maintaining our food service program as it is right now. I'm not here to ask you to vote one way or the other tonight. I'm really here to ask that we take no action at all at this time in this matter. The proposal that was put together by Food Services is not one of the options that is being presented to be voted on tonight, and I really just found that out for sure this week, that it was not being presented to the board. So we have put together a proposal, but I don't believe it has been shared. My understanding as of today is also that our proposal was not shared with the budget committee either, and so with it not going out to those groups, I don't feel that we're really kind of getting our fair share of the, not getting a fair shake here. It feels as though the proposal prepared by Food Services and by the Titan Store to save themselves have been given sort of a short shift compared to proposals being brought in by outside vendors. It feels like these decisions have basically already been made and that the requests for our input are more for the show than to actually be taken seriously. Before any decisions are made, I feel that we are owed some feedback on what we prepared and that our proposal should be given equal time. We talk a lot these days about Titan pride, and personally I am not terribly proud of how this whole process has been conducted. So I respectfully request that the board delay taking any official action on these items until such a time that we have been given some feedback on our proposal, an opportunity to perhaps improve them and make them more palatable to the administration, and maybe even be given a chance to collaborate with the budget committee to find a real, lasting solution to our fiscal problem that does not involve cutting services. And I do want to emphasize services. We are food services. It's a service we provide. We're not meant to be a profit center. In any case, I just am asking that we be given the same opportunities to make our case that has been given to other outside entities. Thank you.
Brian Everett, Anna Smith, followed by Evelyn Sanders.
Oh, that's really looking over.
You can put it in front.
I love this. Thank you. Good evening, board members. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you all. The thing that I want to talk to you all about is your cultural competency program. As an open trans woman of color, this program and this policy that you currently have in place has failed me, trans people, and people of all diverse backgrounds, racial, disability, and otherwise. This policy should, like our cultural norms and like our societal norms that are advancing, advance as well. This is leaving your educational facility in the dust, in the past, and opens you up to both litigation and other issues that I do not think that this college wants to deal with. Directly speaking, I have been outed in a lot of my classes. My name is Bryant Thomas Everett. Though I may not look as a male all the time, the way that your teachers interact with me directly outs me to fellow students, which can be a direct security problem for me, for other trans people, or people who are dealing with domestic abuse, etc. This is something that you must consider fully. In talking to some of the faculty that you currently have on staff, new, as well as those who have been here for longer than 10 years, the training that they have received to deal with cultural competency issues is lacking. Some have described that they have not received any at all to deal with trans or any of the gender identities, and some further, as was previously stated by a lot of my peers, have had all sorts of problems to deal with race, etc. This is something that you must change. It is a direct problem that the teachers, who we are supposed to be learning from, cannot correctly connect with us. Thank you for this time.
Next we have Anna Smith, followed by Evelyn Sanders, and then Leah Jackson.
Hello, my name is Annie Smith, and Lane Community College has given me a purpose. Not only have I gained an education, but independence, confidence, patience, and a family and friends and colleagues. I have spent the last 3 years working hard to grow here, and because of that, I will be graduating in the spring of this year with opportunities that I wouldn't otherwise have. For the most part, I have enjoyed these years at Lane, and I want others to be able to find the kind of success I have found here. However, the cost of a community college's degree is already expensive, and I worry that raising tuition will do more to push away future students than welcome them in. To make my dreams a reality, I personally work 5 jobs, some on campus, some off campus. And I'm lucky. My family does provide some financial support, and I enjoy the busy life of a working student. But even with the support of those around me, I have to tirelessly work to stay financially afloat. I know this school is not being sufficiently funded. I know that enrollment is down. I don't know how to fix those problems, and I'm not going to try and pretend to. But community college is supposed to offer opportunities to those of us in the community who want to receive a post-secondary education and for whatever reason can't or don't want to attend a 4-year university. I believe the money I have spent going to school here was worth spending. I love going to this school and I am proud of the work I've accomplished here. But the burden of work in school is almost too much for me to handle, and during some weeks I feel like I'm killing myself to stay afloat. Community college is supposed to be and needs to be accessible to a wide range of people, and putting a freeze on tuition not only helps current and future students, but sends a very clear message that the administration here supports their dreams. As a community member, I don't think it's fair that the millions of dollars of deficit this college is experiencing now is being seen as a responsibility for current students to make up, and I urge all of you to seriously consider how raising tuition now reflects on the college and community. Collectively, we need to persuade our local, state, and national representatives, and ultimately the taxpayers of Oregon, that supporting access to education is the best way to ensure a prosperous and peaceful future. Thank you for your time, and I hope you take to heart what I've said.
Next is Emily Sanders, Leah Jackson, and Brianna Hursley.
Originally, I wasn't going to speak, but someone urged me to.
Will you pull the microphone closer to you?
Sure. My name is Evelyn Sanders, and I wanted to share my story with you all today. The cost of tuition is already prohibitively expensive. I didn't have a need for student loans when I studied at a community college in Virginia. I've been a part of student government and fought for a tuition freeze once before. I protested at the Capitol when we were requesting that the kicker funds be used for education a couple of years ago. I haven't done these things because I'm idle and I have nothing to do. As a matter of fact, I've had to work no less than 3 jobs at any given point during my time here at Lane just to try to make ends meet because my federal Pell and other grants barely covered my tuition, books, and the over $600 in fees, including the needed student activity fees and differentials just for the culinary arts program alone, have left me financially unstable. I've actually become homeless, choosing an education over a roof over my own head. I'm doing this because it is an outrage that tuition has increased by about $100 per credit since the late 90s. Compared to the lack of increase in wages, it is unsustainable. Community college is for students with limited means to get a higher education. While the increase may not seem like a lot, it will be a burden for many students, including myself, who can barely stay afloat as it is. We should not place past burdens on present and future students. If anything, we should be opening doors to those who are the future, not slamming the door in their face. I'd also like to encourage you to consider work-study positions, which help students like myself with limited time and transportation who rely on campus employment. We also need more open educational resources, not less. Outsourcing anything lines the pockets of those institutions, and it does not behoove students. Thank you.
Brianna Hursley and Angelia Van Kraus.
Mr. Chairman, Board, I'm a non-traditional student here at LCC, and I'm here to advocate for Chinook Walla. I started my journey at LCC in Southern Oregon, and I began working towards an AEOT. My time and experiences were meaningful and rewarding. I joined student organizations and represented the school in academic competitions. My intention is to be an example for my community, specifically for those that identify with marginalized groups. I want to be the proof that we belong in these institutions and that we can excel in these spaces. When I heard that Lane had an Indigenous language class, I was surprised, and I learned that Lane not only had a longhouse, it had a Native American program coordinator. 2 amenities I believe showed progressive thinking at the institutional level. I made a decision that would change the course of my life, to uproot my life, my family, and move to Eugene for the sole purpose of becoming an LCC student. I believe this institution made a space for me, a place inviting and welcoming. I believe then and now that this organization has similar values to my own, and I will support it and advocate for it because it dared to believe in me. I enrolled fall term of 2017 as a full-time student, and currently I'm nearly finished attaining my degree. This coming spring term, I'll be completing the final Chinook Wawa class in the series, and I've been fortunate to learn an indigenous language in my time spent here at Lane. That is a remarkable achievement for both me, the student, and for Lane, the institution, who afforded me this opportunity. This sends a message. Although the Chinook Wawa program and other Native American positions are under constant scrutiny, I'm glad to see that they have persevered. Therefore, I'm here at this board meeting to speak. My experience with Jerome Wiles has enriched my college experience that words cannot express. He inspires me to speak, to use my voice. He made it possible for me to include my culture in my college experience. He's been a mentor and has been influential in helping me widen my gaze. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Jackson, Deanna Hursley, and Angelita Van Kraus. Was that Leah Jackson?